Hello there, and welcome back to another SWTOR slash Bad Batch chat stream here with Philip Aquino.
Hey everybody, good to be back and glad to join us.
So, for our regulars, you might have noticed that we were not live last week. That was because we were not able to access power or the internet due to Cyclone Gabrielle. We are safe. We are home, but yes, we're unfortunately not able to access the internet. We couldn't watch the episode or anything like that, but now we're safe and all caught up and ready to stream and get back into it.
Yeah, certainly, and there was a lot of disruptions around the North Island, around the country at that time. We were out of power for about 24 hours and out of internet connection for a good few days there in the interval. But if anyone else had problems as a consequence of cyclone, I hope things are panning out well for you. We know some parts of the country were hit very, very roughly because of that.
So, I guess it's time to catch up on the Bad Batch and play a bit of SWTOR.
Yeah, we'll talk about last week's episode as well as this week's episode. In a useful coincidence, they are back-to-back stories, part 1 and part 2 of the same story arc on a unnamed desert mining planet. So yeah, it kind of makes sense to talk about them together anyway at this point, even though they're screened 1 week apart. So on the planet Makeb. We're on the planet Makeb because there are some mining operations here, and some of the zones feel a little bit like this, the underground sinkhole type configurations of the mining planet we just saw in the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Other bits look quite different, but we go as close as we can, and we're trying to just come up with a justification for gameplay in the background of conversations.
Yeah, and I know they're not exactly the same, but Ipsium, the sort of the compound that they are mining on this planet, kind of made me think of Isotope 5 from Makeb. So
but,
yeah,
they're both energetic and volatile. They're mined for their energy producing properties rather than sort of precious metal value or anything like that, aren't they?
Yep. So we'll start off with the one that's on this starting map, too close to home. So we're just going to drive there.
We don't play Makeb too often these days. What's the very earliest expansion in Star Wars: The Old Republic? I guess probably nine or so years back now.
Yeah, when the level cap went from the starting 50 to 55.
Yeah. But when it came out, it was we must have played all our characters through it at the time, so it's got some strong nostalgic vibes.
Yeah.
Even just the music, the ambient sound effects.
The Hollow Bridges still freak me out, really,
though. Well, I don't know if it's a change in graphic settings, but I seem to, in the very early days, they felt a bit more visible.
Yeah.
in this era. Anyway, so Bad Batch 2-parter. After that mid-season double episode, so not a core story really, but an interesting story that I think possibly has some implications. Some implications for the bigger picture, perhaps indirectly, and I'll come to that in the discussion. So a smaller configuration of Bad Batch with just Wrecker, Hunter, Tech, and Gonki.
Yeah.
As well as Omega, with the absence of Echo, of course.
It's funny because not all of the Bad Batch have big significant roles or dialogue in each episode, but I felt like this one we really noticed the team felt smaller.
Yeah, it did, and I think it was almost the vibe I got from it, and I could be wrong, it might have just been a personal thing I noticed, it kind of felt like a little bit of like it was intentionally making us realize that Echo was gone and that Omega was bonding with others in different ways. Like there was a distinct story aspect last week relating to her becoming to talk more or trust more with Tech.
Yeah. Because he is very analytical and not emotional, and she is not exactly emotional, but yeah, she feels Echo's sort of absence, and she's upset that Tech doesn't seem to be reacting emotionally the same way that she is, and she's very curious. She reads that as uncaring.
Yeah.
But he's things. Yeah.
But he had a good conversation with her where he points out that yes, he may process things differently.
Which I think, I mean,
not affected by them.
I am by far an expert, but there's a part of my brain that sort of feels like that reads like helpful in some way for sort of understanding people who are perhaps on the spectrum that don't react in the same way or sort of typical. You know, there are elements to Tech's character that make me feel like that there is a reference there.
I think so. I think other people have noticed it as well online.
Yeah.
Talk about being a bit of a neurodivergent representation there.
Yeah, and just because they don't necessarily display emotions the way that perhaps we, expect or see depicted in media, doesn't mean that they don't feel them. You know, that they don't, that they're just sort of. Then that doesn't mean that just because they're not visibly upset doesn't make them cold or uncaring. And I thought that was interesting because they have a moment and she kind of understands that a little bit better when he explains it to her.
I think that was notable. I think it was important for her to bond in that new way. I think that was one aspect of last week's episode that kind of stood out as having a little bit more substance and meaning than the rest of the story. Kind of like, I like these episodes on the whole. It was interesting, sort of wondering, they were left in the lurch, completely in the lurch without the Marauder, and really looked like it was going to be quite a challenge for them to get it back. For a bit there, and certainly at the point where the episode concluded last week.
I was like, oh my gosh, is this going to be like, I'm sure we've all seen it, the tragedy in The Mandalorian, without going into that one. I was like, oh no, are we gonna, am I gonna have to come to terms with the Marauder shuttle not being in the show anymore? And I was like, oh, thank goodness.
The Marauder shuttle's totally, I've talked about this many times in the past, it's totally grown on me. It's good.
My brain saw yellow and just started shooting. I was like, oh wait, no, it's a helper droid, never mind. David West says, hello everyone, and hello there back to you. Thank you so much for joining us for this Bad Batch catch-up. We are recapping the last two episodes because we are unable to we weren't able to even watch last week's episode due to lack of internet and power. So we're gonna, and it kind of works because those two episodes were essentially cut in half. It's kind of interesting we don't have a planet name, or it certainly isn't given one in the show at this point.
I looked it up because I doubted myself. I thought I must have forgotten, but online references just call it an unnamed desert planet. Water needs a car alarm.
Nope, I'm gonna get stuck. Sorry, I gotta go run on the stairs. I'm gonna get I'm shorter, I can't jump. I'm gonna go click the console here.
Yeah, it would have been. I don't know if I would have loved it if the Marauder shuttle had been.
Well, especially since we've had that two-parter where they're basically, dredging up the Empire bombed their home city, their home planet. It sort of feels even more. We're reminded that their home is gone. They can't go back to Poker City. Commando is not really their home world. It's sort of where they were, created, but it's not.
Yeah, well, Omega specifically mentioned that they consider the shuttle their home now.
Yeah.
And that's a recurring theme in Star Wars, of course, going way back to the Millennium Falcon. I mean, everybody kind of dreamed of the freedom that.
Yeah. Like pirate ships, where they sort of, the ship is their home
and be able to roam the galaxy. That was a huge part of the attraction of the original Star Wars, and the independence, the notion of just
exploring. Yeah, the sort of the wistfulness of Luke wanting to just go explore rather than being stuck on one planet. I think many of us can relate on a very small scale of that sort of wanting to just travel and see other countries. I was going to say planets. To go see other cities and countries around the world, and you can only imagine, how interesting and the allure of travel would be if you could literally travel to, countless planets.
Yeah.
And they need their freedom to get around. They can't just hop on a galactic bus. They need to be able to sort of move undetected around. They are still trying to sort of hide, and we don't especially know the fate of the clone troopers in this instance after that dramatic two-parter, with them essentially being sort of retired.
No, I think the main goal of this story arc certainly seemed to be crop up near the end, where Omega observed that the Empire is not the only villain on the scene, and there are other people who need help and assistance. And I don't know if that's painting a picture for story arcs and inventions moving forward, or if it's just a side observation that relates to her personality and character. But it kind of gives me a bit of a potential for the, even once, obviously the Empire issue is not resolved until post Return of the Jedi, but the notion that there are other people that need help in the galaxy certainly opens up the scope for Bad Batch adventures on an ongoing basis.
And we always kind of understood that, when the Republic, certainly in the Outer Rim, the Republic didn't have complete control, but when the Republic was down, the Empire and their approach to sort of government has certainly let crime sort of flourish in places.
So pretty straightforward villain on the whole in the second episode.
Yeah.
Vibes of Krillia and the street gangs a little bit.
Yeah, it did remind me sort of like using the kids, exploiting kids that don't necessarily know any better, because they sort of lack a wider understanding. So they will listen to authority figures, perhaps more so than adults. Adults might, start to doubt. And it was sort of one of those frustrating things where you can tell that the kid believes what's being told to him, but then, under... I don't know if I'm going to the same place, Mark. I think I'm doing... Wait.
Things in random order?
Oh, sorry, I'm doing it. I'm doing something else.
That's fine.
Did you get that one? Mark a target for orbital strike.
No.
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just like, there's a quest in front of me. Maybe you have to do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's showing on the map for you as well.
What's the actual target?
Up in the air, the big tower in front of you.
I might need to
you've got to wait for me to... Because it's smoking from my orbital strike.
Smoking. Okay, I'll give it a second. Yep, here we go. It's just respawned.
Okay. Gold dude's gonna walk into you. Let me know when you're clear.
Nope, I'm in combat.
Okay. I had a feeling he might get up to you because it knocks you out. David says, the poor lithium miners of today is what this latest villain reminded me.
Well, yeah, there's no shortage of villains in the real world.
Yeah, there's a lot of industries that have long exploited vulnerable groups, young people, poor people. It happens a lot in the fashion industry. I mean, that's where, basically like sweatshops, and there's a lot of clothing companies that still do it. I'm gonna get that gold guy. Yep, there he is. He's tagged me. But yeah, again, sort of standalone. Certainly not as important to the overall
I guess that's
as the previous two.
when you look back at Clone Wars in general, the Clone Wars series in general, so got to expect that there's going to be generic adventures. But I did think this has potential to tie into the bigger picture just a little bit. Like I say, the notion of non-Imperial villains, the bonding between the remaining Bad Batch members. Like your observation about the emphasis on the lack of, on the destruction of Topoka City and the implications that has for we've got to get that right.
Yep.
The significance of the Marauder shuttle. I think those are all valid, interesting points. Glad that Gonki survived intact.
Yes. I'm always sad. I'm like, poor droids in the Star Wars universe. They just, I got a deco. Oh, no, I didn't. I saw bud and thought it was a plant. Nope, it's just an earpiece.
Earbud.
Yeah, it doesn't say earbud. It just said bud. Okay, I'm gonna, let me see. Is that all for this map?
I'm
gonna go up.
I don't know. I'm kind of on autopilot a little bit. You've done a better job.
Yeah, I know. I haven't been here in so long because they changed it up a little bit. Okay, what have we got? I think that's it. Yep. Okay, we're done here. Let's go to Volcanic Mesa. I always know that one well. Oh, I've got to call too close to home. Got to finish it up.
Yep.
Here we go. Cool.
Volcanic. Okay.
Yep, Volcanic Mesa.
So yeah, I'm a fan of Gonk droids. I like the fact that they've stuck with a original trilogy, New Hope era style for Gonki on the whole.
Yeah.
He was one of my first life-size props that I built with Gonk droid in our Rumpus room.
Yeah. David says, Topoka City Destruction Story was great. And I'm sure we've got more like that. But I get in the feeling that if we had the really meaty stories episode after episode, we're going to burn through Bad Batch too fast. And I think we've mentioned this before. It feels like they've kind of learnt from the Clone Wars that if they want to like draw it out, they've got to have, some, in between episodes.
Yeah, just adventures.
Yeah. Otherwise it feels like you just sort of race to the important bits too fast. And I'm seeing some really interesting moments for Omega. In some ways it was sort of about the Bad Batch, but in some ways it feels like it's Omega's story. There's so much still we don't know about her. And what her sort of trajectory is going to be. We saw her do some pretty heroic things in this one. She goes off
last week as well when she was extracting the F7.
Yeah. She was just kind of moody but determined. She didn't go off and just sort of pout. She was like, okay, I'm gonna, do something. I can see the volcanic thing over here.
Yeah. I think we'll take these
and she risked herself and she was like, I can reach it, I can do it. And yeah, she did fall because, at the end of the day, she's a clone, but she is also a child. But we saw her in this most recent episode. She like leapt off, trusting one of her brothers to catch her, swinging across, which is just like, oh, that gave me anxiety. Just watching it, a cartoon. Oh, do I have to do it as well? Oh, okay.
Not really?
Yeah, there's one over here.
Okay.
But I thought that was really interesting, sort of, the people that captured her sort of obviously used her
as bait and leverage.
Yeah, but she's more capable than people give her credit for. She didn't get out of that situation on her own, but she completely trusts her teammates. And just leapt off. And I liked it, like, she's seeing, we're seeing more of that, I don't want to call her naive, but she's just kind-hearted, she's like, here, have my rations, and like, pointing out, like, she knows that not everyone's not to be trusted because she finds evidence that the guy's lying about the profits and things like that. But she still just very much wants to help everybody, and I don't really want to see that corrupted. I don't want to see her jaded. I think she's such an interesting counter to what a lot that we see in Star Wars. You know, the like, you know, there's always some sort of galactic conflict in Star Wars. There's always something that's going on, and a lot of the characters in Star Wars are sort of jaded or defeated, and I think she's interesting because she's not. Do you want to count down, see if we can both get it?
Yeah, sure. Hang on. Oh, wait. Oh.
Did you click? Yeah, it's not there.
It's not working. That one's broken. That node's broken.
Okay.
I tried it twice.
Well, we'll go over here. Because that was... I can't remember if we're up to episode 9 or 10.
7 and 8 were the double episodes. 9 last week. Unmentioned track.
Yeah, that's why I was like, because
it might have been 10.
Because we've had a bit of a personal break, so it feels like a little bit. So we're heading towards the mid-season sort of. How many episodes is this one? We're past it, aren't we?
Yeah, 16. That double episode was mid-season.
Okay. Where are the nodes? I'm going to have to go behind this one.
Yeah, that's often nervous, but we'll need one each.
I will try counting down.
Okay. Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, click.
Cool.
So yeah, I hope things are being set up for many more episodes of Bad Batch, and many more seasons of Bad Batch, rather.
Yeah.
Because I think...
Okay, that counted for me.
Oh, it's the timing thing. Probably established that before, but it does change sometimes. When they tweak the back end, yeah, I can handle a ongoing seasons without necessarily. And I think there's a lot of space for Star Wars material that doesn't necessarily have to tie into the fate of the galaxy.
Yeah.
All the time. I mean, that comes from enjoying the old expanded universe novels, not the modern era ones, or the but, you know, the really old Han Solo and Lando Calrissian novels where it was just their adventures. And they even, you know, intentionally set up other villainous entities other than the Empire, so they didn't even have to sort of interact with the main story at that level. So it's going to be hard for Bad Batch, obviously, because their story arc is intimately tied to where the Empire's going, what the Empire's doing. But
I kind of want to see them break away from Sid. I feel like there's something sinister ahead. They've been warned by people, and we see her being a lot more callous about their welfare. And she's
that was the cliffhanger of last week's episode. In fact, they contacted her, and she
and she was like, they're like, we need to get away off the planet. And she's like, nah. I'm like, oh, like, she's kind of interesting, and I think the show is gonna like have that story point come to a head.
Could be, yeah.
I don't think they're just gonna like go, okay, see ya. This, like, she's gonna betray them or something. Like, she's gonna have to like make, you know, something's gonna happen to fracture that. That there wouldn't be things like just warning them about her and then they just have that unresolved and they're just like, okay, we're gonna go buy a house and see you later. Does make me nervous though. And they're definitely building that up to something.
Okay, over here.
Oh, my brain, I can't see them.
Yeah, that's fine, there's rocks. There's 2 of them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I take this one.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how strongly they'll play into the main story arc, or if that'll just be a secondary thing as they sort of move on and in terms of their reliance on her.
Well, I mean, from just a long sort of future-proofing, it didn't make sense to have them tied down so much. And we knew that from their own as soon as they have, you know, their own means, they're not relying on her anymore. They don't have to keep putting themselves, because we see them kind of railing against just constantly doing missions to make money, you know. We know that they have a greater sense of sort of,
well, it's
sort of doing what's right and helping the galaxy, not just like we need money.
the things they're doing are probably profiting Sid a heck of a lot more than they're profiting them as well.
And I think perhaps the greatest sort of underlying storyline arc is they have met what happens when people put profits over people. They've, you know, they met somebody that basically was, well, not basically, he was using child labor, slave labor, you know, lying to them, controlling for the sake of profits. And we're seeing Sid putting them in just increasingly dangerous.
They often open episodes with a Ord Mantell scene in Sid's canteen or bar, whatever you want to call it. So that maybe next week's episode starts, they might be having words with her.
Yeah. Because we know Hunter is not terribly fond of Omega being put in danger. Oh, sorry, I clicked. Dread it.
I'll find another one.
At this week's episode, she was put in the biggest danger. She sort of fell down. Oh my gosh, my heart absolutely jumped when she fell in that episode. It reminded me of that scene in Last Crusade, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, when Elsa falls down at the end and just disappears into the sort of the chasm. When Omega fell, and then Tech just like jumps after her, and I was like, oh
yeah. It's the
that freaked me out. Oh, there's one over here.
He
just jumps like, and I'm just like, oh, I don't know where this is gonna go, man. Like, is he gonna catch her and grapple like a ledge or something like that? And I was like, oh, it's water, okay. Like, I thought that was really interesting, that we don't necessarily see the caring side of Tech, but he totally put his life on the line for Omega, and that
without overanalyzing it first, because
he just jumped.
He went to protect her, presumably with the sort of foreknowledge that we have to work things out on the way down, essentially.
Yeah. That's it for us here. So I'm just going to open up the map. Let's go do... Is that Quake Engines up? Why can't I figure out the map? There's no quick travel. It's under the thing. Westwater Settlements, top left-ish. And David says that was a great catch save. But I thought it was interesting. It gave them a point to sort of talk it out, because they're sort of waiting for the other two, and basically gave us some sort of closer... Because I don't know, like... We see a lot from Omega's perspective, but not necessarily her inner thoughts, you know, because it's just hard in media. You get it more in book form. I thought that was like a really interesting... I'm not sure which quest we're doing on this one.
Dig up. Emergency kit. I can pick up an emergency kit, did you?
Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, okay. Oh,
tricky jump.
Yep. It's about as high as I can jump on this character. So it's one of those ones where it's kind of clever in the fact that it feels like it's a filler and that not much happens, and we're kind of back to where we started at the end of it. But I think that there was some interesting... because the Bad Batch is now a smaller unit, they have to be tight-knit. And we're going to see closer, I think, bonds between all of them. Because they have the kind of the soldiers...
Oh, here we go. This speed is the... So I'm not being through here.
Yeah. Okay, that fixes it for me. Cool.
Yeah. So we're going to find a bunch more of them. They're all... Someone's just done it.
Yeah. But we can go do the...
Here we go. Over here.
Okay. Just following along on my speeder. We'll go through this and... Because I assume we're not going to lose any more members of Bad Batch. At least I hope, fingers crossed. Oh, there's a bonus. Okay. Off with the people then. Sorry, troopers. And we're still not seeing Crosshair.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure whether I want him to be redeemed, or whether he just sort of ends up being some hardened sort of person, sort of exiled.
It's a hard sell redeeming everybody in Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's a hard sell.
It becomes too, I don't know, predictable, repeated.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Having the story powerful enough to justify it. Because he's really gone. He really is quite dark side and really committed to his perspective.
I think in some ways it's kind of like whether there's like an underlying thread that I often think about it like the Parent Trap movies, you know, where the kids desperately want to get their parents back together and they're like, haha, all we've got to do is get them to spend time together and they'll fall in love again. And the real world doesn't work like that. You know, it is, I mean, it's literally a Disney movie. And you often wonder how many kids watched that and thought, oh, if I can get my divorced parents, they'll love each other again and stuff like that. And I feel like there's stories like with, you know, like in Star Wars and that, redeeming people and bringing them back, that you can always like fix people or fix situations. And Crosshair feels like that's sort of the family member after a rift. And sometimes the families never do solve those issues. You know, you can't always just get everyone to sort of agree, whether it's, you know, personal issues, political conflicts, whatever it is. You know, sometimes there are issues that just split a family and they're not resolved, then they never are. And it's kind of like one of those like Pixar things where they sneak like life lessons into the cartoons, you know. And Omega is still like, she wants her family all together and happy, but you know, the galaxy is a hard place and life is hard, and that doesn't always necessarily just work out. So I think it's almost more impactful for Omega for her to come to terms with the fact that he won't be coming back.
Yeah, you're right. It could be a learning point for her.
Like it might seem too sort of, yeah, it might just be sort of too cheery and I don't know, but at the same time, oh, I gotta defeat one more dude.
Yeah, we got a bunch up there.
Okay.
So we gotta go to the tanks.
You know, that she's sort of learning that the galaxy isn't like, you know, a perfect place where everything works out in the end.
Anyway,
and she's also meeting other children and other people in the galaxy who have had a very rough life, where, you know, she's learning that things aren't always fair. Okay, let's... Oh, I can see one from here. Cool. Don't know if we have to count this one down, but we may as well.
Yeah, we're going to get those tanks. Yeah.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Click.
I know that we're like adult fans and we're probably bound to analyze these things more, but we do know that Filoni does put a lot of sort of subtle messaging and just underlying story threads, you know, that on the surface they're cartoons, or that counted both.
Oh, hang on, that's taking out that tank. I wonder if we can scan it when you finish it off.
Did we have to scan it?
Yeah, you got to destroy it and then scan it.
Okay, I smushed it.
Yeah, and then click on the
Oh, mine says required effect not present. Boo! Oh, cause he did it already? Did he?
I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe we got it. I don't know.
Can scavenge it. Oh well, we'll go find some more sticks because we've got to wait a bit for these to come back. I know the story arc wasn't quite as sort of like instrumental in the wider Bad Batch storytelling, but I did really enjoy these ones.
Yeah, well, I think it's just because we're really starting to get into a groove with the Bad Batch's characters and just, like I say, just enjoy their random adventures on the whole. As long as you get something that ties it into the bigger picture every now and then, it feels good.
Yeah, because we didn't actually have the Empire. We didn't have any sort of characters that we were familiar with in this one.
I'm interested to see where, obviously, where they go in terms of, yeah, possible redemption or not. Sorry, as you're saying.
I feel like they've been deliberately avoiding Crosshair in this season. It's kind of like that you can only put two very skilled people in the same room and have them both come out alive without it being like ridiculous that
Possibly
they both.
that is possibly it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't have too many confrontations, unresolved confrontations between the main heroes. And
but in some ways, it's just kind of odd that we haven't actually just checked in with him. You know, these stories aren't done from. Oh, don't worry, I found the sticks. From one viewpoint only. You know, we do get scenes with, you know, the Empire and stuff like that. So it's interesting that we just don't have an update on what's happening with him. I feel like that's going to tie in a little bit more closely to what the Empire is going to do with the clones. Because we haven't like revisited that since the Emperor's speech.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if, I don't know, Rex is gonna give word. What am I doing here? Why do I have to click on this door?
Over here.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I went this way. Because I don't want Rex and Echo to just disappear.
Well, we know Rex doesn't completely because he shows up down the line.
No, but from the Bad Batch, you know, like Echo, I don't want them to just be gone. I want them to, here we go, to reconnect somehow.
Oh yeah.
I know that Echo might not rejoin the Bad Batch, because he wasn't an original member, but I want them to sort of cross paths, you know, so Omega can kind of see that he's okay. Abandoned mining mesa, sort of down from here.
There's a resolution.
Oh, do I not? Oh, I don't think I have a quick travel point for that. Nuts.
Well, speeder.
Yeah, I'll go to the closer one and speed her across. I'm just like, what? Looking at it going, I don't have that one.
Speeder's a quick on Makeb.
Yeah.
Once you get them.
There you go.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing Crosshair again, as I started saying, but part of that is quite like his armor, quite like his helmet. I think the Hasbro version of the Hasbro figure of the Imperial version of his armor is really cool.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see, because his whole thing is good soldiers follow orders. But what is his life going to be when he is no longer an Imperial soldier?
Well, somebody may realize, as may others, that the commanders, the infrastructure that they're fighting for is not the same as what they started, and you don't just need to switch loyalty just because you're a soldier. I think that's a notion that hasn't been explored yet. That
Sorry. I realized he was so close to the edge. I was like, oh no, oh no.
That the clones don't have to be loyal to the. I guess they're loyal to. Well, they're not loyal. They can't be loyal to the Emperor anymore because he's thrown them under the bus.
Yeah.
And they're not. They can't. They don't have to be loyal to the Empire as a institution because it's not who they've always fought for.
Yeah.
I think a few might come to that realization. Well, they already are.
Yeah.
But,
I think it's really interesting because I'm sure fans have had theories about the transition between clones and stormtroopers and stuff like that, but it's really interesting seeing it from a slightly more insider perspective. Seeing it from the clones' perspective and sort of seeing it told in this way. Because as fun as it would have been to see these stories told in live action, the nature of clones just means that's just an awful amount of CG work. You know, trying to make every character being, you know, and
for Tim.
Yeah, it'd be like just having to film, and then they'd have to like CG his face to look slightly different.
You
know, like
Logan have talked about doing those Commando scenes for episode 2, where they just did the same thing over and over, slightly different.
It's just a little too hard when, like, you know, voice acting is one thing because you know what the other person said and all that kind of stuff, and you're given direction and dialogue and that. But yeah, acting when you're the only person and you're having to remember exactly what you said and the way that you said it so that you can react as the other side it's got to be hard enough for the actors that have had to play like identical twins in movies and stuff. I can only imagine if you started to multiply that out and out and out. It's got to just be, near on impossible. I think I'm heading the right way. I haven't done this one in a while. I'm just going around.
Yeah, feels like direction.
I don't know if there's a oh, I got a bestiary. Cool. Well, because I haven't been here before, I unlocked the quick travel point, so I know I haven't been here before.
This particular part of the map,
Yeah, this Mesa. I can't remember if there was a clickable weapon up here.
Oh, sorry, I moved on.
Yep, I'm coming down to the no railing part.
David just pointing out in chat, but it sounds like a bit of a fan of Crosshair as an interesting character as well.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because he's almost going rogue in being this sort of loyal and unquestioning of the Empire. You know, we saw other clone troopers on Coruscant sort of disillusioned with their state in the galaxy. They're like, they can't decommission us, they can't do this, they can't do that. They're upset with the way that they're being treated. Oh, you got knocked.
Yeah, what was it I thought? Where am I?
Probably back at the start. I'll come to you. I always remember that dude does knock back, so I'm like, get my back to the wall quickly.
I don't think I'm actually that far away. Hang on. Yeah.
There you are. Yay. Oh, I found a data pad.
Okay.
Oh yes, we'll go up and have a look because they'll probably respawn. I don't know that we have to go all the way down.
Yeah, Crosshair took up a good, interesting bounty hunter.
Well, he's certainly got the skills for it, yeah. And we know that
and it's sort of
Boba.
Yeah.
Boba is an unaltered clone, and he is a very good bounty hunter. So we would imagine that the clones themselves, I mean, he's an altered clone in the fact that he's been enhanced across here, you know?
Have we specifically established what the aging timelines for Clone Force 99 are? Whether they're exactly the same as the other clones? I don't know.
I don't know.
Sorry.
We assume that they are the same in the fact that they are grown up.
Yeah, because they do talk that actually, they do talk about Omega actually being older than
them, but
yeah.
sort of biologically
Yeah, no,
younger
that's
because
right.
she is
I
not
was just trying to remember.
accelerated.
I was just talking out loud, trying to remember. That
Yeah.
specific detail, but
No, it's one of those things where, we feel like we need to go back and actually watch some of the starting episodes to... There's a lot of Star Wars information to remember in your head these days. With so many series and so many references to try and keep track of it all.
Was it in the last podcast we were talking about how, I might have been talking about how much Clone Wars material it is, and it's not surprising that some people have come into Star Wars fandom just via Clone Wars. So
Yeah.
it's definitely, what I'm trying to say, it's definitely people there that know Clone Wars better than us.
Yeah.
Despite our best efforts. I mean, I love Clone Wars and watched most episodes a few times, but yeah.
But then it also is a bit daunting for people that haven't, because it went on for, a lot of seasons, and there is a lot of threads to keep track of. I think I'm heading the right way. I feel like it's up.
We're gonna get to a elevator that takes us down, don't we?
Oh, is it over there? Yeah, we gotta like jump. Sorry, I was looking at the up thread and I realized I'm doing the wrong thing. We jump down here. Oh, that's the way that I always used to do it.
Oh, off the edge.
Yeah, you jump down onto the box.
Yeah, this map is even further down.
Yeah, there's a few things that can go terribly wrong jumping in SWTOR, but... Whoa. Watch your back.
Yeah, I'm safe. This time.
Oh! My brain was just like, I got knocked, but I couldn't remember what was behind me. I was like, I was pretty sure I put my back up against something, but now I'm not so sure. It's a long way down when you get knocked in SWTOR. Okay, this one. Okay, so now we have to go back down this way. Yeah, I'm starting to remember it.
Yeah, I like this underground bit's a little bit better than the platforming. Oh, hang on, I got some friends.
Oh, good. I keep seeing crystals and I want to pick them up, but...
It's like one of the few characters that doesn't...
I know, she's a crafter, so she only picks up metals. Sad. It's the long one. Okay. Can't believe we're getting so much closer to Mando. We're seeing clips on YouTube of scenes and things like that.
Yeah, I've heard some really, I know I won't get into spoilers, but some of the stuff I've heard makes me really, really excited about season 3.
It's very intriguing
The
rumors if they end up being true.
Yep. And I don't think we'll get. I think some of the biggest surprises will come beyond episode 1.
Yeah.
I think. Although having said that, of course, the biggest surprise of Mandalorian did come in episode 1 of season 1.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good thing. We haven't quite finished, but we have been watching Mando season 1 and season 2 again, just trying to
prepare, refresh our memory on all those episodes.
And yeah, there's stuff in season 2 I've almost forgotten about.
Yeah, because it's been a while now. We kind of forget that it's actually like a year between these shows. So, I mean, I know that's kind of harking back to like old sort of TV series where, yeah, there was sort of like one series a year. But Star Wars, it feels like everything connects so much. You do sort of need to keep on top of and remember, oh, in this episode, he met this person and said this thing, and you're like, oh, I forgot about that. Just little details that are just, you know, you tend to remember the big dramatic moments in these shows because, yeah, they really sit with you and you go, whoa, I can't believe that happened, or this person showed up, and then, yeah, some of the smaller, quieter episodes, you're like, oh, I forgot that they said that or went there.
Have you got any favourite moments from our recent rewatch of season 1 and season 2 that you'd kind of forgotten and that you were reminded of?
Of course, my brain is not going to remember at this point in time. There were quite a few where I was like, oh, I'd forgotten about that.
Because of the pivotal second Miggs Mayfeld episode, I fully appreciated his first episode a whole lot more.
Yes. I don't think we'd actually gone back and watched the first one after that second one.
No. And I did like that. It's a simple one, but I did like the Siege, which is the directed by Carl Weathers, where they steal that armored troop transport.
Yeah.
And then you got the biker scouts crashing down the mountainside.
Yeah. Yes, that was the one that I think I remembered one of the least, where they actually discovered it was a lab and had the sort of hollow recording of the scientist. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had forgotten about that. That he was basically saying that they need more, they need more blood from the asset, that he had exhausted what he could. What's that?
Yeah, the depth of that, the significance of that specific message.
And I couldn't remember if they had like as I was sort of re-remembering stuff as we were watching it, they don't focus on what's in the sort of the tanks around them. Not like Alien so 4, you know, where you see all like the mangled failed experiments in the tanks and stuff like that. It's kind of hazy. You kind of get the impression that there are people, bodies, sort of in there, because they just reference it that it's a lab, so it's not sort of like gory or in your face, but you know that, yeah, they're sort of trying to do something. But we don't necessarily know that it's cloning. They talk about test subjects not surviving.
Yeah, it could be just enhancement of some sort.
Yeah, like super soldier serum or something to that extent, or trying to give the force to non-force sensitives, you know. Yeah. But it does get me excited because I had forgotten about that specific section of dialogue and the fact that we see the scientist in the trailer. That we're gonna have to revisit that. We're done here?
Yeah. Cool. I did like I'd forgotten that the one calamari fisherman attacked
yes.
Grogu and Din Djarin to that extent. And
I had remembered
has to crash in to save them.
Yeah, I had forgotten that. I had remembered the like him going in the water, the Grogu's pod going into the water, but I couldn't remember how that had happened. They basically kicked him in there into the water, and that was how he comes across here, Bo-Katan. And that it was that early that we kind of got. We didn't really they didn't spell it out for us, but that's when they introduce it's not mentioned, but that is basically the first that we hear of Bo-Katan's sort of quest, even before it's sort of spelled out for us as viewers, that she's searching for a specific weapon that she knows Moff Gideon has. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, because it's not spelled out what it is. At that point, it kind of goes over your head. And rewatching it, now that we've seen the finale of season 2, we know what it is that she's actually referencing there. And I was like, oh, okay, that's why she's taking everything very seriously.
All right. Go ahead next.
Okay, let's have a look.
Oops.
Friend Mesa, kind of across from us, the easy GSI.
Yep.
Nice and easy. Proto bark casings. But yeah, just trying to reflect back and see if there's any other sort of moments that I particularly I'm one of those sort of, always filled with optimism when I'm watching Star Wars, because, at the end of the day, it's more Star Wars. But sometimes it's hard to kind of really dissect down why you enjoy something. Favorite moments and things like that. I'm very much a fan of where they are taking Omega and the Bad Batch. And it just makes me impatient with the once a week pace. At least we, generally speaking, when it comes to these shows, they don't get the big jumps like for the Super Bowl or whatever, where they just like take a week off.
Yeah.
That's like terribly annoying, because that doesn't happen as often for us here in New Zealand. It seems to be very much a trend that America does. Is that one? Yeah, it is one. Do you want to count down?
Oh, yeah, 3, 2, 1, click. Yeah, at least we're spared that.
Because I think once we really get going with Mando, it's going to be absolutely agony waiting for each episode. It's hard enough with the Bad Batch, but once they get going on Mando Season 3... And not to sort of delve into it, but I saw, and I don't know how verified this is, but I had seen some reports saying that while initially Ahsoka was advertised as a limited series like Kenobi, a one-shot series, self-contained, that it is now being listed and sort of internally at Disney as Series 1, which is kind of fascinating to me. And perhaps they have, because there were like all those Splinter spin-offs that they were going to be doing, Rangers of the New Republic and stuff like that, and I guess they know that Ahsoka is let's just hop across to whichever one is across from us, the dual scanners. Let's see. Cartel Mining Mesa.
Yeah. The worst one.
But it very much like ties into The Mandalorian. It'll be interesting to see. And then knowing that I think the director said in an interview with, was it Variety or Empire, that Skeleton Crew is set in the same sort of time frame as The Mandalorian.
Yeah, that was I think it was actually Favreau. It wasn't John Watts who was, but he was talking about John Watts. So Favreau said that.
Oh, it's this one. Okay.
Yeah. How are we gonna do it?
No, I did not. This one is just agony. Let's go across and do Severed Tract, Perecta Mesa. There are 2 to do over there. Perecta Mesa. Sorry, I've just got like flashbacks to this one. It's very I don't understand why it's a daily. Each one is the same length as some of the dailies. I'm just like, no, I'm gonna come do this one. Get the little.
Yeah, we got a big bus.
There we go. Cool. Okay. I'm gonna turn Operation Overwatch off because I just don't like it. There are 2 here, so we can do these 2. One's just over here.
Yeah.
At the very least, I hope that we get, I would like to see 5 seasons of The Bad Batch. I know that it might not go beyond that. I'm pretty, off the top of my head, I want to say that Rebels had 5 seasons.
Feels about right.
I'll have to look that up, but it feels about right. And I felt like that was a good amount. I know that fans of the show always want these things to run longer.
Well,
but I don't mind. I want Bad Batch, but I could understand if they decide that that's where the storytelling naturally sort of concludes.
It doesn't mean we won't see the characters elsewhere. I mean, that's what you're
Yeah.
talking about with the skeleton crew. Even though it's set in the Mandalorian era, that is going to be our introduction to those characters. But Favreau said that, not inconceivable for characters that work well in one format to show up elsewhere down the line.
We know because of the likes of Boba Fett that whatever age or wherever he is in the galaxy, that until we have information to the contrary, that Omega would be the same age and alive in the galaxy. So as far along as we see Boba Fett in the canon storyline, we know that potentially Omega is also in the galaxy. We just don't know where or what she's doing at this point because we only see her as a child. And that just intrigues me no end, that she could show up in the Mandalorian universe in a live action capacity. And that was just, that's so interesting to me. Oh, you're having good luck.
No, I was thinking about that because the introduction of and survival of Ahsoka was a little bit disruptive to, aspects of Order 66 and so forth, but they stuck with it and, and now
they figured it out how it would work.
Yeah, way post Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Now, and they're very similar things because, no one wants Ahsoka to be killed off. No.
Yeah.
And so I don't think they would do that to Ahsoka, but it would be interesting if we saw Omega down the line as well in some format.
Yeah.
And that thought crossed my mind just recently for some reason as well, so I was trying to think who could play her.
Yeah, because she's got a very distinctly New Zealand accent. It would be hard because unfortunately, I mean, I'm sure Americans get the same thing and other people with very distinctive accents. But I don't know, personally for me, trying to fake a New Zealand accent always comes across as just Australian or some sort of distorted British. That it is just a hard accent to pull off convincingly if it's not your native accent. So I feel like they would, if you're going to do Omega, you'd probably have to cast a New Zealander. I don't know where the tunnel is. I don't generally go backwards here. Oh, there it is. Oh, I'm facing the wrong way. It's like looking at the wall going, where's the tunnel? Okay, back this way. Because we've got to do the other part. But that would just be the coolest if she showed up. And I know that if they did that before the natural end of Bad Batch, then that would basically go, look, she's alive, she survives, that's a spoiler, or whatever. Or they could, just go, well, she's a children in a cartoon, we're not going to kill off one of the child heroes, Like, yeah. I know that was one of those conundrums for what felt like years in the Clone Wars, and everyone's like, well, is Ahsoka's not there in episode 3, where does she go? Like, does she die? Like, what happens to her? Does she go to the dark side? Like, there was all these fan theories about how she wasn't there. There was a quake shelter back there we didn't do. We can do that when we quick travel back. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm all over the place. Trying to play and talk at the same time. I just absolutely love to see Omega in a live action capacity. And I think that in some ways the Mandalorian is kind of like Star Trek's sort of Abrams verse, like Kelvin verse type thing, where they sort of introduced something and it kind of sparked a new sort of center point for storytelling.
Yeah.
With those films that did very well, I know fans have their differing opinions about them, but they were commercially successful. But The Mandalorian is like beloved, and I think Disney knows that, let's tie everything in together to the point where we see them just completely disregard basically canon storyline and putting The Mandalorian in Galaxy's Edge. You have to come here and scan.
Yeah, I got a little bit carried away with some, yeah.
Oh, did you get a mob, did you?
Yeah. Just without thinking, just another product.
Oh, all good. Oh, a beam.
So, I got my... Oh, no, did I get that? Yes, I got it. So, this one...
You've got to stand right up against the door and then click the life sign... what does it say? Life sign scanner. Yeah. There you go. But yeah, the fact that Disney went and put Mandalorian and Boba Fett, I think, in Galaxy's Edge, even though it doesn't really make sense for them to be there alongside First Order Stormtroopers and Kylo Ren and stuff like that. Yeah. Because I know they're too popular. And of course, a lot of fans will point out that was a big mistake with Galaxy's Edge, was fixating it in the First Order timeline and not in the original trilogy. And who knows, maybe at some point they will change that. Because we've yet to see them really sink a lot of storytelling into that time period again. They obviously wanted to cash into the movies, but I think, who knows, maybe in 5 years we'll see them rejig.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's talk of some or most of the upcoming movies sitting in they'll leave Mandoverse to deal with the original trilogy era, and to a slightly related extent the prequel trilogy era, and start kicking up some more movies in the downstream timeline.
I think especially as the generation that grew up with the prequels are now 20, if you're like episode 2 is 20 years old, we're seeing more of a nostalgia for it. We haven't yet reached the point where there is a nostalgia for the sequel trilogy. We may as well just quick travel back to base.
Yeah.
Which one will be on Corrector? But it'll be interesting to see if I am fairly certain we will see a live action Ahsoka in Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense at all, because her voice is heard in those moments with Rey is hearing the voices of the Jedi, Force ghosts. So we know she is not among the living. Yeah. She is in the Force at that point. So the fact that she would be at Galaxy's Edge doesn't make a lot of sense. But I think they're just going to start to forego sort of continuity there. Oh, nuts.
Shame.
Off we go again. I forgot. Oh well. I think we usually go up and then work our way back down, but because we missed one, we're doing it a little bit backwards. That's fine. It'll be interesting to see just how much crossover we will have when we eventually get to Ahsoka.
Oh, how much of continuity of Rebels will really?
Yeah, that they'll pull in that, but also characters from The Mandalorian to sort of ground it, because we saw that in the Book of Boba Fett, pulling in characters from other shows.
I had to do that one separately as well.
What's that, sorry?
I had to do that one separately. So
oh, okay, sorry. Because in some ways you almost feel like I know that it's just basically like the Star Wars show, and this week's episode is featuring this character. Now we're going to go look at this character, like, because they're all so deeply connected. Arbitrary. Yeah.
And I think, well, from what I've heard,
we have to go up to the top, do we?
Yeah, it's just right. We go around this.
Okay.
There's a ramp around here. Oh no, wait. Yes.
I think we've got to go up this way.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Because, yeah, there were episodes of the Book of Boba Fett that did not have Boba Fett in them. So I'm wondering if we'll see the same with Ahsoka.
I believe we will see more of that across the board.
Because we've established Bo-Katan. And I think it would be almost odd if she is not in Ahsoka. Because we see her in... I'm pretty sure she's in Rebels. But we come across her in the Clone Wars anyway. So I feel like there would be, a lot of crossover there.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the live action interpretations of Rebels material by people and places and ships. And
they have to give us like some first looks at Celebration. A teaser trailer that shows like some, like, I'm not gonna like name names because this is spoilers for Bad Batch, but I'm not gonna go into rumors or spoilers for other shows. But some of the characters that have either been confirmed, casting revealed, or whatever, that we know who they are existing characters from other media. We haven't seen their faces. They're like maybe confirmed casting, maybe confirmed some characters, but we don't have faces. We don't know what these characters are going to look like. And I'm hoping that, cruddy got me, that we get more definitive looks coming soon. I don't know if it would be early enough or late enough, I guess the right phrasing is, to get stuff from Andor Season 2 at Celebration.
They're filming it. I don't think they will. I think
like if they would put, like sometimes they do those trailers where it's just sort of behind people on set talking about stuff, and they're like, oh, this is fun, and like here's a bunch of extras on set, and here's a location, and here's a vehicle. And
I'm not counting on Andor. I know they're filming, and they're filming in a number of different locations and got stuff coming up. But my gut feeling is I'll focus on Ahsoka and the Skeleton Crew, and potentially we'll have a movie announcement.
Yeah. Yes, because everyone is intrigued by the fact that there's, 2025 on the Disney sort of schedule.
5 and 7, yeah.
But yeah, normally in the old school Star Wars past, if there was a movie coming out within 3 years, we knew what it was. Oh, where is it? Do I have to jump down, do I? Is it down here, is it? Yep, it's down here.
Yeah.
Then we quick travel back. Are you done?
Yeah.
Cool. Now we go back to base. Be interesting to see how many snippets of The Mandalorian they release online before the season premiere. So we've got one already.
What's that? Mandalorian material you're saying?
Yeah. Releasing that scene online already.
Oh, the actual full scenes.
Yeah, you wonder how much they're going to do before it actually like airs. Do you need to do that last one for the weekly?
I've got 5 out of 6.
Oh.
That's okay. We might be time to wind things up.
Okay.
My kids are a lot of work.
That last one is just obscenely long compared to all the others. I'm just like, sometimes I'd rather come back the next day and just do something really quick to knock off the weekly.
No, I've had a good conversation about upcoming material.
Whoosh. Yeah.
I think there'll be some interesting developments in next week's episode of Bad Batch. Like I say, I think...
to be honest, I'm still not really sure what the game plan is to have the Mandalorian and the Bad Batch overlap like that.
Next week and on.
It doesn't give Bad Batch time to shine, really, because you know that when those two things release on the same day, people are going to watch the Mandalorian. And because these things release at midnight in the US, not everyone has time to stay up hours after midnight watching these things. There's always somebody, people are going to go, okay, I'll pick one, watch that, and I'll catch up on the one the next day. And it feels a shame because some of these episodes, like the two that we just watched, they connect. You could have aired 2 of those 2 in the same, because the animated shows tend to have slightly shorter episodes than the live action as well. So you can reasonably watch 2 episodes of them without it getting... I mean, the last 2 were actually slightly longer Disney Plus lists them as 29 minutes, but they're a little closer to sort of 27 when you shave off the credits and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is, longer than the standard sort of 21, 22 minute sort of TV show slots that, we're used to on broadcast TV. But, I mean, we know we will stay up and watch all of them, but at the same time, if we do our live streams, we're probably going to jump on and do a live stream talking about The Mandalorian and then go off and watch, would we watch both and then do a live stream? Questions we'll need to figure out before they start screening. We're going to watch both and talk about both Bad Batch and Mandalorian in the same stream, or what?
If they come in close to an hour combined, then we might have to watch them both and talk about them both in one day.
Yeah.
It'll be quite complicated.
Sorry. But yeah, that's so much closer than it sort of always felt like. I don't know. When we have these long gaps between Star Wars, you almost start to get numb to it. And just it's been over a year, or, what's a few more weeks? And then when you realize it starts getting close, you start getting really impatient. Because, I enjoy Bad Batch, and I don't want to see it overshadowed because, in terms of popularity and just how much it sort of is a presence in the media, Bad Batch just can't stand up to The Mandalorian. It's just so much of its own juggernaut these days. And I think, if it was back in the old day, you can imagine when in the old broadcast TV days, and it'd be this was how many million people tuned in to watch this, when it aired or whatever. You could imagine the viewership numbers for episode 1 of each Mandalorian season. Because I don't think Disney releases viewership numbers. I know Netflix does for certain ones. They'll be this thing got this many watches within the first 24 hours of release and stuff like that. It'd be interesting to see if Disney released numbers for something like the first episode of The Mandalorian. It'd be interesting to see how a show like that compares to things like Stranger Things and stuff on Netflix in terms of just sort of how many households are sitting down to watch it on its release. But I get the feeling they'll keep that number private.
Yeah. David thinks in chat that we'll have a lot to talk about Mando next week.
Yeah, I get that. We might switch it to 2 nights or something like that.
Well, even if we watch them both, just because it will be agonising to wait.
We might. And then we have a stream where we
one night and Bad Batch on talk the following night.
The following night to let people that can't watch both on the same night have the opportunity to catch up the next evening, and then we'll do. That sounds reasonable. That sounds like a good idea. We can always play more SWTOR. There's always something to do in SWTOR, even if it's just doing some dailies or running some PvP. There's always something to keep us occupied in here. So I guess we'll call it there. What's that?
Yeah, time to wrap things up.
Yep. It was fun being back on Makeb. A lot of nostalgia for this storyline. Certain locations more than others. I really didn't want to do that one. My brain doesn't remember what some of them are called, especially if I had deliberately avoided them back in the day. And I didn't recognize what the title of the quest was. And then when I got there, I was like, oh. Get out my cute little isotope 5 droid. I keep forgetting I've actually got the big isotope 5 droid.
Yeah.
I got a big one and a little one. He's very cool. So I guess we'll wrap up the stream there. Thank you so much for those. I know it was a little bit all over the place, but to be honest, the last week to 2 weeks has been a little bit chaotic for us personally. We're very much glad to be back home, getting everything sort of back under control, getting back online again, and enjoying Star Wars and feeling positive again. Lots of Star Wars positivity, lots of cool things to look forward to, and can't wait for next week's episode of The Bad Batch and of course The Mandalorian coming up soon.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for joining in, and take it easy until next week.
See you guys in the next video. You can catch our archives of these streams on our Villaverakina YouTube channel. We've got some fun things planned coming up soon on that channel. So do subscribe to us over there if you enjoy Star Wars fun like we do. Catch you next week, and may the Force be with you. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like, check out our other videos, and subscribe for alerts about new uploads. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.